Sport now on Afternoon Live with John Watson, and no prizes for guessing where we're going to start, John. And obviously Jose Mourinho parting company with Manchester United. Yeah, absolutely, Marty. Perhaps we shouldn't be surprised, such has been their performances so far this season. But I think the timing perhaps is surprising. Suggestions that United may have only parted company with Mourinho when it was mathematically impossible that they were going to qualify for the Champions League this season. United, though, hoping to have a caretaker manager in place for their match with Cardiff this weekend, following news of his sacking this morning. He has, of course, overseen the worst start to a league season in 28 years for Manchester United. A temporary replacement will be found until the end of the season before a permanent successor is then appointed. Ollie Foster is outside Old Trafford today. Ollie, the club clearly keen to make some progress on this quickly, and they want to have someone in place by the weekend. We could have news in the next 48 hours, perhaps.
Yes, just less than 48 hours after that terrible defeat to Liverpool, 5 hours after the club announced that Jose Mourinho was no more after 2.5 years. All sorts of speculation as to who would take on this caretaker role. The club clear in that straight away that they wanted somebody to see them through to the end of the season. So that's 5 months in the hot seat before appointing somebody permanently. So all sorts of speculation. And the front runner at the moment is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a former star striker here, a real folk hero really after what he did in 1999, winning the Champions League for them in that infamous final in Barcelona against Bayern Munich. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's tied to Molde in the Norwegian First Division at the moment, just signed a contract extension, but their season is at a close. They finished as runners-up a couple of weeks ago, so he is free until the new season, in theory, until the new season starts in March there in Norway. Surely some deal could be done. He's got all his badges, obviously, and has done pretty well with Molde in 2 spells in charge. But when we look at a permanent manager, John, Laurent Blanc, who we understand wouldn't take on a caretaker role, but the former player here as well, well, maybe he is being mentioned in dispatches as well. Former France manager, Paris Saint-Germain manager as well for a few seasons. And also Zinedine Zidane, one of the great players of all time, one of the great managers as well, after winning a hat-trick of Champions League titles with Real Madrid, but then leaving Real Madrid somewhat surprisingly at the end of the season. So all sorts of runners and riders, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being mentioned now as taking on that possible caretaker role. And of course, wouldn't it be odd if it was going to be against Cardiff? That was his one taste of management in the Premier League. Had a season and a bit with them, saw them relegated, took them down to the Championship, and was then sacked when they're in the Championship. But that's the latest speculation at the moment. But yeah, they want somebody to be in that caretaker role by the weekend and the trip to Cardiff.
It would certainly be an interesting subplot were Solskjaer to get the job. I mean, how have we arrived here? Because as we know, Jose Mourinho enjoyed relative success in his first, in the first year in charge, didn't he? He won the Europa League. We know he won the League Cup, finished second last season. Dressing room unrest. I mean, was it slightly inevitable with the league position they are, how far off the top that they are at the moment, United, that this sacking was going to come?
Well, closer to the relegation zone points-wise than they are to the top of the table. 19 points off Liverpool, so a long way off the top 4, and that's going to be their priority now, trying to qualify for the top 4 in Champions League football, all the riches that goes with, and how clubs like this need to operate in that elite level. But it was pretty much inevitable. What are we, 17 matches into the season? The smoke signals were there from the very start of the season when we heard Mourinho sort of calling out the executive vice chairman Ed Woodward, saying, look, you haven't given me enough money. Then there was all the dressing room unrest, reportedly calling Paul Pogba, the record signing, a virus. A lot of fans here this afternoon, John, pointing fingers at the boardroom as well for not being able to get that succession plan in place after Sir Alex Ferguson left, 5 years ago. They just haven't got it right, and they know that they're going to have to get this recruitment right next time round.
Absolutely. Ollie Foster live at Old Trafford for us. Many thanks indeed, and I'm sure many relieved Manchester United fans hopeful now that they will see a return to that attacking style of football that they crave, so often seen under Sir Alex Ferguson. They haven't quite got it right since, have they?